All right, let's just jump right in. If you're in the tech world, you know the feeling, right? That constant pressure to keep up. It can be, well, it can be exhausting. But what if you could tackle a huge certification, something like the AWS Solutions Architect Professional in just 1 month? I know, it sounds a little crazy, but I did it. And today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I pulled it off.
You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? That feeling of endlessly pushing this giant boulder of knowledge uphill just to watch it roll back down when some new technology comes out? For pretty much anyone in our field, this is just reality. But here's the thing I've learned. You don't have to let that boulder crush you. You can actually learn to master it.
So you can look at this as a never-ending burden, or you can see it as a really, really satisfying challenge. And I honestly believe it all just comes down to your mindset. That's what we're going to reframe today. Not just the how of learning, but how you think about learning. That's how you can hit these super ambitious goals fast.
Okay, so why this certification? Why cloud? And why right now? Well, for me, this wasn't some random decision. It was a direct response to some very, very clear signals that the market was sending out. Let's dig into that context for a minute.
So my career has been a bit of a journey. I spent about a decade leading tech solutions in the US finance world, and then I switched gears to advising fintechs over in Asia. And that gave me this amazing bird's eye view of where the money and the innovation were really happening. You know, in the past, all the buzz was about big data or maybe blockchain. But today, oh, the game has completely changed.
Yeah, this signal is impossible to ignore. The AI boom is creating this just insatiable demand for raw computing power. And where do you find that kind of power at scale? The cloud. All that money pouring into AI has to go somewhere, right? And once you get past the chip makers, the cloud platform providers are the ones catching all of it. So if you're going to dive into the cloud, where do you even start? Well, you look at the landscape. And as you can see here, Amazon Web Services, AWS, is the undisputed dominant player. For me, the decision was pretty simple. Go straight to the source, the biggest name in the game. So that answered the what to learn. Now let's get to the how.
All right, this is the real heart of it. This is my personal blueprint for passing one of the toughest AWS certifications out there in just 4 weeks. I know it's an aggressive timeline, but the method is built on a really powerful and I think very human principle. Before I break down the actual steps, we have to talk about this one concept, metacognition. All it really means is being self-aware in your learning. It's about being brutally honest with yourself about what you know and, more importantly, what you don't know. This is not just some buzzword, let me tell you. It is the absolute foundation of learning efficiently. If you can get a handle on this, you can learn just about anything. Okay, so with that idea of metacognition as our foundation, how did I actually structure my time? How did I take this massive body of knowledge and turn it into something I could tackle in just 1 month? Well, it all came down to a simple 4-step plan. And here it is, my whole plan on one slide. It's 4 pretty simple but powerful steps. First, you register for the exam immediately, no excuses. Second, you build your knowledge base. Third, you just immerse yourself in hundreds and hundreds of practice questions. And finally, and this is the secret sauce, you learn to find the patterns in the answers. It seems straightforward, but the real magic is in how you do each step. So let's break them down, starting with the most important one.
Step 1 is completely non-negotiable. The second you decide you're going to do this, you go and book the exam. Do not give yourself an escape route. This creates what we call a time box in software development, basically a fixed deadline for a specific task. By setting that unmovable date, you force yourself to focus. Procrastination just sort of evaporates when you've got a date circled on the calendar and money on the line.
Okay, next, you've got to build that foundation. I used online courses to soak up the core concepts, but my goal wasn't just to passively watch videos. It was to learn the language of AWS, how they talk about their own services. And then, I'd immediately try to apply those new ideas to systems I had built in the past. That's what makes these abstract concepts feel real and stick in your brain.
And this is where I stumbled on a huge secret. As you do hundreds of these practice questions, you start to see patterns. And the biggest pattern of all is this. The correct answer almost always follows AWS's own preferred way of doing things. They want you to use their managed services to build cloud native. I mean, it's a certification for their platform, so of course the answers are going to reflect their philosophy. Once you get that, the whole test becomes so much clearer.
You know, this whole pattern-finding approach is a uniquely human advantage.
AI learns through brute force computation, just crunching massive data sets. But us, we humans have limited brain power, so we've evolved to be these incredibly efficient pattern recognition machines. We find the shortcuts. My study method wasn't about trying to memorize everything, it was about finding the patterns to learn in the smartest, most optimized way possible.
So, I passed the exam. Great. But that piece of paper, the certificate itself, that's not the real prize, not even close. The true value is in what this knowledge lets you do as a strategist and as a leader. It's about understanding the bigger picture.
And here's the most crucial point. Getting certified is not about chasing the latest trend or giving in to that fear of missing out. A cloud platform is just a tool. That's it. The real skill is knowing if and how to use that tool to hit your actual business goals. The certification just gives you the vocabulary and the mental models to make those strategic calls effectively.
Because you see, the cloud is really a double-edged sword. For every amazing benefit, like cost efficiency, there's a risk on the other side, like hidden costs from wasteful servers. It offers incredible scalability, but that can come with new constraints you didn't expect. Understanding that balance is what separates a technician from a true architect and a real leader.
So if you're a leader, my strongest recommendation is this. Don't just tell your team to go upskill, learn with them. Run these time-box learning sprints, just like I did for myself. Make it a challenging, competitive, and shared experience. This builds skill and morale like you wouldn't believe. And it forces you to confront the hardest question of all.
Is your team and your entire organization truly ready for what's coming? Are the skills actually there? Is the culture there? Answering that question honestly is the first and most important step in navigating whatever new wave of technology is heading our way. That's the real challenge. And believe me, it's one that goes way beyond any single exam.